This story out of Mount Vernon, and we have with us on the newsmaker line the mayor of Mount Vernon, Richard Thomas, long contested by candidates, the mayor himself, enemies of the mayor, and so forth. The issue being, did the mayor have access to, and could he look at the books and records since he was elected? Even before he was elected, he said a mayor could not. He was not able to after he took office. He was not able to look at the bank accounts that were managed and kept from view from him and previous mayors, frankly, by the comptroller, whether she be Maureen Walker or Deborah Reynolds. Now the court has spoken. Turning next, it says in the brief, to consider the second cause of action raised through this proceeding, a request for relief in the form of an order of the court compelling Respondent Walker to grant the petitioner online access to the city of Mount Vernon's bank accounts for examination by the petitioner for all such accounts. And this is, of course, we're moving on. Here, the court recognizes the petitioner's claim of his absolute entitlement to have online access to the city of Mount Vernon's bank accounts for his examination of same is derived from the interplay he proposes. It goes on. Upon such statutory authority, the petitioner submits that he was and remains legally authorized to himself examine or to designate other competent individuals to examine the books and records of all departments of the city, including the comptroller's office. It goes on and on and on. And so, several issues before we put the mayor on and get his story. There are some that have said that the mayor did have access to the books. There are those that said it wasn't true that he couldn't see the books. And it's always been his assertion that he could not see them. Well, obviously, the court agrees that he could not see them, and the court agrees that he has every right to see them, has every right to access them online, and to appoint people. The issue has been cleared up. Let's hear from the mayor. Mayor Richard Thomas, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Did you hear that setup, sir?
I did, and, all I can tell you is that this is a major victory for the people of Mount Vernon. This is a major victory for transparency, because for the first time in a quarter century, we're going to start being able to see real details, and I really look forward to being able to construct what's going on, because the people of Mount Vernon have been unjustly suffering at the hands of people that just want power, and this is a real blow to that power structure. And I'm relieved and excited that the Judge case was able to issue a decision that supported the people, and it wasn't even a decision. It was just She looked at the charter and said, this is right, and right is right and wrong is wrong. So I just want to thank the judge.
Well, Mayor, a couple of other things, and why we asked you to come on when we saw this decision. There have been those that said that none of this was true. There have been those that asserted almost that this was a myth. How must you feel now, and B, how does this change the narrative in your city regarding the differences between yourself and the comptroller, regarding the issue of the state comptroller coming in and opening the books themselves, which they heretofore have not done? Mm-hmm. How does this change the narrative?
Well, two things. One, I feel like the Knicks made it to the playoffs. You made it, but you still got to play off with, the best of the best to make sure that you win the championship. So we know that the Knicks right now, their record isn't that great. That's my home team. That's my favorite basketball team. So everybody out there don't laugh too much. But
we just had to take a pill here. But go ahead, Mayor.
But it definitely helps everyone see that it's true that when two people argue, it's hard to tell who the fool is, and all I can do as mayor is defend the people. And each challenge, each court battle, it's been about being obstructed by the comptroller. It's been about being obstructed by the council, and you can clearly see that they're in cahoots. Their whole storyline of he's not telling you the truth, or he's misleading you in this. The facts are not on their side, and that's all I have is facts, faith, and I'm full of fight for the people.
Mayor, we're going to go to break in a minute, but we'd like you to stay with us and we have some candidates on today. Later today, Andre Wallace will be with us. Sean Patterson Howard will be with us. And when we come back from break, what we'd like to know from you, what does this mean? What will the comptroller have to do? What has she been compelled by the courts to do? And what will be the first things that you will look at? Will the logjam finally end? And you can start answering that now if you would.
Yeah, sure. First things first, we're going to get set up. We're going to start looking, myself and my commissioner of management services. We're going to start our review, and we're going to expand based on what we see. And I fully expect having a team of professional, competent team do a forensic look at the accounts. But what I can tell you is we had this happen before where Baker Tilly was brought in to do a forensic look. The comptroller, the council, they blocked that effort. So now, all of a sudden, it seems like it's fashion. It's in. So it is
fashionable, as is, by the way, the proposal to go to a new form of government. When we return, the mayor will be back with us. News Radio. We are with Mayor Richard Thomas on our Newsmaker line. A breaking story came in late last night. WVOX is in possession of the court ruling. Mr. Mayor, with your... begging your indulgence, there's a signature paragraph here that we'd like to read from Judge Kikasi's orders that we would like to shout out to the people of Mount Vernon. So bear with us, okay? Therefore, as the court finds that the drafters of the city charter clearly expressed their intention through Section 60 and 66 to vest authority of the mayor of the city of Mount Vernon to himself examine or to designate other competent individuals to examine the books and records of all departments of the city, including the comptroller's office, the finance department, and any bank account owned by the city, as often as he wishes to do so and without first being required to provide notice to the comptroller's office. Doesn't have to, folks. This court concludes that such relief as that sought by the petitioner through his proceeding constitutes a lawful demand of Respondent Walker, who was the comptroller at the time of the suit, to perform an act or acts which is ministerial, non-discretionary, and non-judgmental, and premised upon specific statutory authority mandating performance, and it cites various other suits. Accordingly, this court finds that the mandamus does lie to compel Respondent Walker to enable the petitioner to be afforded online access to the city of Mount Vernon's bank accounts for examination by the petitioner for all such accounts at all times without notice, as often as he deems it to be necessary. Folks, that is unambiguous. Mayor, what does this mean? Obviously a victory for you in terms of running, but what it really does is restore something that had callers to these broadcasts scratching their heads. How could this be? This doesn't seem possible, even so much as putting your credibility at risk in asserting so.
And this is where I have to say me too. You know, when you point out that there's a wrong and there's a whole chorus, a whole network of people that say, oh, no, they just literally lie. And this is where people, you know, they say they don't like politicians. And I'm one of them. I dislike politics. I believe in policy. I believe in the people. And this is why, you know, I don't mind getting a hard time. I played outside linebacker in high school football at Memorial Field, and I got hit hard, and I know how to hit back. And this is a real big hit at a power structure that's kept Mount Vernon down for years. And I can only tell you that, you know, just think about how can you drive a car blindfolded? How can you operate that way? You can't. And this is why it's important that the fight be waged, and this is the type of fight that's necessary, because the taxes in Mount Vernon were literally very high for very difficult reasons to understand. And two, you know, there hasn't been much thought on how to protect the taxpayer until now. But this is the fight, and this is the fight I'm going to continue to wage, because the people of Mount Vernon deserve the best. That's the best of the best.
Now, Mayor, obviously this decision came down from the courts yesterday, somewhat late yesterday. Will it be shared with the state comptroller? Will others become involved? Or will this be, you know, the old adage, success has 1,000 fathers, failures an orphan? Do you think we'll finally hear from the state comptroller and others now?
Well, we're going to continue our inquiry, and if the state comptroller decides to join and start looking at the facts, then we welcome the state comptroller's office. But what I know is that this has been a massive effort to just get a level playing field. And the vendors, this is a victory for the vendors that have been dealing with non-payment for over a year and a half or more. And I just want to emphasize that the behavior, the secrecy, the shady moves that were made, they weren't just made by Reynolds. They were made by Walker as well. And Walker was very, very good at maintaining this facade. And I just think that things got worse when a new person came in, very much like the College of New Rochelle. So we see some very similar parallels there, and we're very concerned about that. But my belief is that the economy of Mount Vernon is strong, and my belief is that the taxpayers are demanding change. Well, and I'm going to continue to fight for those positive changes.
On behalf of the taxpayer, as you well know, this kind of transparency does enable voters and taxpayers to hold you more truly accountable as well.
That's fine. I mean, look, I'm 36, all right? I have 2 young kids. I have everything at stake. There's nothing that I want to do that I want to mess that up. I met my wife the first day of class in college. We've been together for 19 years. I believe in relationships. You know, trust is definitely there. So I have everything to lose, and the people have everything to gain. And this is why I looked at the situation in 2015 and said, man, if something doesn't happen right now, Mount Vernon is finished. And now look at the city. Property values are up, crime is down, and we're finally giving the government back to the people.
Well, Mayor, I want to thank you for coming in early. I trust that this will make the rounds and this decision will become public knowledge today. Thank you very much for making time this morning, and for you, I guess, kudos on this issue. You insisted a long time. Thank you so much for your time this morning.
And I just want to say thank you for following this story, and the people that have, you know, that may come on later, they still have their own facts to face, and we'll talk about that at another time.
Okay, thank you so much. Mayor Richard Thomas, the mayor of Mount Vernon, the story. The courts have found for the mayor, the comptroller must open the books, the current comptroller, the decision reached versus the original comptroller and the current comptroller, and the decision is unequivocal. The mayor needs to, has access to, and has every right to look at the books online at any time without notice as he so chooses. Those are our words as relates to the reading we just gave. 6:42, we have some other news.